Mr. Speaker, Mrs. Johnson, Ambassador, honourable friends, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the UK Parliament, it's my pleasure to formally welcome Mike Johnson, the 56th Speaker of the US House of Representatives, to the Palace of Westminster to mark the 250th anniversary of the American Declaration of Independence, which will fall on the 4th of July 2026. Of course, you and I have met on several occasions at the G7 Speakers Conferences, but it's always been a pleasure as the 158th Speaker of the House of Commons to welcome a fellow Speaker to the Mother of Parliaments. Yesterday, we had a chance to chat over a cup of tea. Our first trade dispute was over tea at the Boston Tea Party. We've only just about forgiven you for that trade dispute, so I'll say no more about any of it.
Something that should be front page news every single day, but isn't, is that Democrats have literally already filed the paperwork to impeach Trump again. They have already written the articles of impeachment. They have already spelled out all the charges, and they're just waiting. They're waiting for the midterms. They're waiting for the votes. They're waiting for the moment when they can move. And here's what's wild. Trump knows this is coming. He's not even trying to hide it anymore. Trump told House Republicans, if we don't win the midterms, they're going to impeach me. I'll definitely get impeached. Like, he just said that out loud. To his own party, he's basically admitting that his presidency is on a 2-year timer. Once the 2026 midterms happen, once Democrats potentially take over Congress, it's game over. He gets impeached. And that's not Trump being paranoid or speculating. That's Trump understanding the political reality. Democrats have already introduced impeachment resolutions. They've already drafted the articles. They've spelled out detailed charges covering everything from abuse of power to obstruction of justice to violations of constitutional rights. Repl Green filed articles accusing Trump of abusing his power, inciting violence, threatening lawmakers and federal judges. And Green is basically saying these articles are sitting there, ready to go the moment Democrats have the votes to move. So we're not talking about some hypothetical future impeachment. We're talking about impeachment that's already drafted, already filed, already planned. The only thing that's holding it back is that Democrats don't have the votes right now because Republicans control the House. But the moment that changes, if the midterms go against Republicans, the moment Democrats take control, those articles are moving. That impeachment is happening. And Trump is absolutely panicking about this because he understands what it means. He understands that his political survival depends entirely on Republicans holding the House in 2026. If they lose, he gets impeached. If they hold, he probably survives. It's that simple. It's that high stakes. And Trump is telling his own party, if we lose Congress, I'm done. I'll be impeached.
Friend, it means so much to us. It's a real detriment to follow Speaker Hoyle. I don't like to do this. At the G7 speakers meetings, I just want you to know when he gets wound up and going, it's just like Churchill, and it goes on and on and on. And I try to speak before him at all times. I don't want to follow, but really, really grateful to be here. He has become a dear friend, and all of you, we've met so many great friends. My wife Kelly and I are truly touched by how warmly we've been received here, and having met so many of you in the past couple of days. We walked away with this sense that we do have close and dear friends here across the pond, and we have this shared heritage, and we treasure that. It is a profound honor to be speaking in Parliament today, to be the first U.S. Speaker of the House ever given this honor, and I take it very seriously. As proud Americans, it is as though we have returned to the spiritual birthplace of...
Now, this is not the same as the previous 2 impeachments. The first impeachment was during Trump's first term. That was about Ukraine and quid pro quo pressure. The second impeachment was right after January 6th. That was about incitement of insurrection. Those were shock moments. Those were things that happened and then Congress had to react. But this third impeachment is different. This one is pre-planned. Democrats have already decided what the charges are going to be. They've already written the articles. They're just waiting for the votes. And once they have the votes, the impeachment happens almost automatically. It's not a question of whether, it's just a question of when. And the charges are serious. HRES 353 has 7 detailed articles: obstruction of justice, abuse of trade powers, abuse of war powers, First Amendment violations, violating the appropriations power of Congress, bribery and corruption, and tyranny. Literally, tyranny is listed as an article of impeachment. That's how serious Democrats think this is. So you have this situation where Trump is sitting there, knowing that if he loses Congress, he's getting impeached. He's probably going to face a Senate trial. He's probably going to get dragged through weeks of Senate proceedings where people testify about his alleged misconduct. And even if he survives the Senate trial, like he did with the first two impeachments, the political damage is enormous. And that's why Trump is freaking out about the midterms. That's why he's telling Republicans, we have to win, because if we don't, I'm done. He's not just worried about losing political power. He's worried about facing a third impeachment. He's worried about becoming the first president in American history to be impeached 3 times. That's humiliating. That's devastating. That's a legacy that never goes away. And the Capitol is already starting to erupt about this. You've got progressive members calling for Trump to resign. You've got outside groups running impeach Trump again campaigns. You've got impeachment resolutions already on file. You've got Democrats openly saying that if they win back the House, Trump's time is up. It's not even subtle anymore. It's explicit. Congress is basically saying, if we get the votes, you're getting impeached. So the 2026 midterms are not just about healthcare policy or inflation or jobs. The 2026 midterms are literally a referendum on whether Trump should be in office. Are you going to elect a Congress that will impeach him, or are you going to elect a Congress that will protect him? That's the choice. That's what's on the ballot. And Trump understands that. That's why he's so desperate about it. That's why he's warning his party. That's why he's telling them they have to win, because if they don't, he knows what comes next. He knows the articles are already written. He knows the votes are ready. He knows that once Democrats take control, his presidency becomes about survival. It becomes about fighting another impeachment. Okay, so let's actually understand how this works and why it's such a big deal that Democrats have already filed impeachment articles before the midterms. So impeachment is a power of the House of Representatives. It's in the Constitution. The House has the power to impeach the president if they believe he's committed high crimes and misdemeanors. And impeachment is basically an accusation. It's the House saying, we believe the president did these bad things. Once the House votes to impeach, it goes to the Senate for trial. The Senate decides whether to convict, and if 2/3 of the Senate votes to convict, the president is removed from office. Now, impeachment has been used very rarely in American history. Andrew Johnson was impeached and acquitted. Richard Nixon almost got impeached, but resigned before it happened. Bill Clinton was impeached and acquitted. Trump has been impeached twice and acquitted twice. So we're not talking about something that happens all the time. But what's different about Trump's situation is that Democrats have already decided they're going to impeach him again if they get the votes. They've already written the articles. They've already decided what the charges are going to be, and they're just waiting for the opportunity. And that opportunity is the 2026 midterms. If Democrats win back the House, they immediately have the power to impeach, and they've made clear that they're going to use that power. Now, what are the charges going to be? Well, Democrats have drafted articles that cover a lot of ground. Abuse of power, that's a traditional impeachment charge. Trump is accused of misusing his authority as president. Obstruction of justice, that's about Trump allegedly trying to cover up wrongdoing or prevent investigations. First Amendment violations, that's about Trump allegedly using government power to retaliate against critics. War powers violations, that's about Trump allegedly abusing his authority over the military. And then there's stuff like bribery, corruption, violating Congress's power of the purse, and tyranny. I mean, they're really going for it. They're not even being subtle about it. They've written detailed articles explaining exactly what Trump allegedly did wrong. And they're waiting for their chance to move. Now here's what's interesting. Democrats are not eager to impeach Trump right now, even though they have the articles written. Why? Because it won't pass. Republicans control the House. Republicans are not going to vote to impeach Trump. The articles will get filed, but they'll never get a vote. It would be a waste of time. So Democrats are waiting. They're waiting for the midterms. They're waiting to see if they can win back control of the House. And if they do, then the impeachment moves immediately, like within days probably. They've got the articles already written. They've got the charges ready. They just need the votes. And Trump understands this. That's why he's so focused on the midterms. That's why he's telling Republicans they have to win, because if they lose, his presidency becomes about fighting impeachment. It becomes about defending himself against charges he already knows are coming. Now, historically, presidents have dealt with impeachment threats in different ways. Richard Nixon faced impeachment, and he chose to resign rather than face it. He saw the votes were coming. He understood he was probably going to be impeached and convicted, and he decided to resign instead. It was the honorable way out. It avoided dragging the country through impeachment. Bill Clinton faced impeachment, and he decided to fight it. He got impeached in the House. The case went to the Senate, and he was acquitted. He survived, but it was brutal. It damaged him politically, it damaged the country, but he was determined not to resign. Trump has faced impeachment twice, and he's fought both times. He's been impeached twice and acquitted twice, so he's probably going to fight a third impeachment too. He's probably not going to resign. He's probably going to make Congress drag him out. He's probably going to force a Senate trial, and he's probably going to try to survive it again. But this time might be different because Trump has already been impeached twice. So a third impeachment looks like a pattern. It looks like Congress has spent his entire presidency trying to remove him. And that changes how people view it. That changes how senators might vote. That changes the political dynamics. And the charges this time are different too. The first impeachment was about one specific phone call with Ukraine. The second impeachment was about one specific day, January 6th. But this impeachment would be about a broader pattern of alleged abuses of power. It would be about Trump's entire approach to governance. It would be presented as Trump being fundamentally unfit for office. And that's a powerful argument. That's why Democrats have drafted articles that cover so much ground. They're not just focusing on one incident. They're building a case that Trump as a whole, as a complete package, is a threat to democracy and should be removed. Now, could Trump survive a third impeachment? Sure, maybe he survived the first two. But at what cost? At what political cost? Another Senate trial? Another month of his presidency being about impeachment instead of governing? Another opportunity for his enemies to present evidence against him? Another chance for his allies to fracture? And Trump knows that. That's why he's panicking about the midterms. That's why he's telling Republicans they have to win. He's looking at this situation and understanding that if Democrats take Congress, he's facing impeachment. He's facing a trial. He's facing a political nightmare. The other thing that's important is that Democrats are not hiding this anymore. They're not keeping their impeachment plan secret. They're talking about it publicly. They're saying if they win, they're going to move on impeachment. They're essentially telling voters, a vote for us is a vote to impeach Trump. That becomes part of the midterm message, and that changes how voters view the midterms. It's not just about which party controls Congress. It's about whether Trump stays in office or faces impeachment. It's a direct vote on Trump's presidency. And Trump is telling his party that if they lose this election, his presidency is over. Politically, legislatively, personally, it's over. That's how high the stakes are. That's why Trump is so focused on the midterms, and that's why Democrats are already preparing the articles, because they understand that if they win, they're going to move immediately. They're not going to wait. They're not going to deliberate. They're going to move on Trump. Okay, so let's break down what this actually means and what happens if Democrats win back the House in 2026. Point 1, Trump is essentially on probation. What we're seeing here is Trump's presidency basically on a probationary status, like he can stay in office as long as Republicans control Congress. But the moment that changes, the moment Democrats take control, his time is up. That's the reality. That's what Trump is acknowledging when he says, if we don't win, I'll get impeached. He's not speculating. He's not being paranoid. He's acknowledging that his political survival depends entirely on keeping Congress in Republican hands. And that's an incredibly precarious position to be in because elections can swing, parties can lose control, and when they do, Trump faces removal. Now, is that necessarily bad? From one perspective, it means Congress is taking seriously the idea that Trump has done things that warrant removal. Congress is not trying to hide that. Congress is not pretending everything is fine. Congress is saying, we think Trump is a threat to democracy, and if we get the chance, we're going to move to remove him. And that's democracy working. That's Congress checking presidential power. That's the system functioning the way it's supposed to function. But from Trump's perspective, it's a nightmare because it means his presidency is always in danger. It means he can never relax. It means he has to win the midterms or face impeachment. It means every day is about political survival. Point 2, The articles are already written. This is important. Democrats are not going to have to spend months writing impeachment articles if they win back the House. They already have them. They've already done the work. They've already decided what the charges are going to be. The articles are sitting there, ready to go. And that means impeachment could move very quickly. Within days of Democrats taking control, you could see impeachment articles moving through committee. Within weeks, you could see a House vote. Within months, you could see a Senate trial. There's no delay. There's no deliberation period. There's no, let's take our time and make sure we get it right. There's just, boom, here are the articles, we're voting, let's move. And that's terrifying to Trump because it means he doesn't get to control the narrative. He doesn't get to spend 6 months explaining his side. He doesn't get to do public relations and try to convince people he's innocent. Congress just moves and he's dealing with impeachment. Point 3, the charges are serious and numerous. The articles that Democrats have written cover a lot of ground. It's not just one charge, it's multiple charges. 7 articles of impeachment covering obstruction of justice, abuse of power, war powers violations, First Amendment violations, bribery, corruption, and tyranny. Tyranny that's listed as an article of impeachment. Democrats are literally saying Trump has committed tyranny, that he's behaved like a tyrant. That's the level of how serious they think this is. And having multiple serious charges makes impeachment more likely to succeed, because you don't have to convince senators that every single charge is true. You just have to convince them that enough charges are true to warrant removal. You have to get 2/3 of senators to vote to convict. And if there are lots of charges, that becomes more likely. So Democrats have drafted articles that give them multiple avenues to conviction. That gives them options. That makes it harder for Trump to get acquitted because there are so many charges to defend against. Point 4. This is unprecedented for a sitting president. Trump has never faced a situation like this before, where Congress has pre-drafted impeachment articles, just waiting for the right moment to move. This is different from the 2 previous impeachments. Those were reactive. Congress responded to specific events, the Ukraine call, January 6th, and then Congress impeached. But this impeachment is pre-planned. It's strategic. Democrats are sitting there with the articles written, waiting for the moment they have the votes. And that's never happened before. That's unique. That's a sign of how serious Democrats think this is. They're not waiting to see if they should impeach. They've already decided they should. They're just waiting for the chance. Point 5. The midterms become a referendum on Trump's presidency. With impeachment articles already written and Democrats publicly committed to moving if they win, the 2026 midterms become something more than a normal election. They become a referendum on whether Trump should be in office. They become a direct vote on removal. Voters are essentially voting on the question, do you want Congress to impeach Trump? If you vote for Democrats, you're voting for a Congress that will impeach him. If you vote for Republicans, you're voting to protect him. It's that straightforward. It's that high stakes, and that changes how people vote. That changes what the midterms mean. That makes this election about Trump's presidency in a way normal midterms aren't. It makes it about whether Trump should stay in office or face removal. And Trump knows this. That's why he's so focused on the midterms. That's why he's warning Republicans they have to win, because he understands that this election is literally about his political survival. Point 6. This could be the moment that removes Trump from office. Now, impeachment doesn't automatically remove Trump. He could survive. He could face a Senate trial and be acquitted again. He could survive 3 impeachments. It's possible Republican senators might protect him again. But it's also possible that this time is different, that a 3rd impeachment is too much, that senators decide they can't keep defending him, that the weight of multiple serious charges finally tips the balance, that Trump is actually convicted and removed. And if that happens, J.D. Vance. If Trump is removed, J.D. Vance becomes president. And that completely changes the political landscape. It means Trump's presidency ends not because he loses an election, but because Congress removes him from misconduct. That's never happened in American history. Andrew Johnson wasn't removed. Richard Nixon wasn't removed because he resigned. Bill Clinton wasn't removed because he was acquitted. If Trump becomes the first president to be removed through impeachment and conviction, that's historic. That's transformative. That changes everything. So, is it likely? Probably not. Republicans have shown they'll protect Trump. But is it possible? Yes, absolutely. And that's why this is such a big deal. Point 7. The 2026 midterms are the most important election in recent memory. Okay, so think about what's at stake here. If Republicans win, Trump probably stays in office. His presidency continues. He gets to finish his term. He gets to run for... Wait, can he run again? That's a whole other question. But at least he stays in office for now. If Democrats win, Trump faces impeachment. He faces a Senate trial. He faces the real possibility of being removed from office. His presidency ends. J.D. Vance becomes president. The entire political landscape changes. That's enormous. That's the most important thing at stake in any midterm election in modern history. Not just which party controls Congress, but whether the sitting president stays in office or faces removal. That's the stakes. And voters should understand that going into 2026. Should understand that a vote for Democrats is a vote that could result in Trump's removal. Should understand that a vote for Republicans is a vote to keep Trump in office. It's that straightforward. It's that high stakes. And Trump is telling his party that they have to win. He's not hiding it. He's explicitly saying, if we lose, I'm getting impeached. He's basically saying, you have to win because my political survival depends on it. That's the message. That's the reality. And that's why 2026 is such a critical moment, because the outcome of that election literally determines whether Trump stays in office or faces impeachment and removal.